Good day. This is Dr. Jim Blessman coming back to you again with Adventures in Africa with Doc. Thank you for joining us again. We're just having a wonderful time with these podcasts. And what's happening is I've been interviewing friends of mine and people that I've run across that have enjoyed an experience in Africa. Most of them have been working with Blessman International, but just a few times we bring in people that just have some experience in Africa that I believe that you, the viewers and listeners, would be interested in learning about. Erica Henderson Calhoun has been a good friend of mine for many, many years now. I first met her when she was a student at Iowa State, and I was there recruiting college students to come and serve with us in Africa. And fortunately, she chose to trust us and come all the way to South Africa and has been over there with us a couple of times. And so, Erica, would you just introduce yourself and we'll go ahead and get this thing rolling?
Absolutely, Doc. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast, and I'm just looking forward to our conversation. So, hello, everyone, listeners. My name is Erica Calhoun. I am a longtime fan and supporter of Blessman International in various different ways. So, as Doc mentioned, my beginning stages was an intern during the summer of one of my college years. And then I came on temporarily as an agricultural specialist for nearly a year in South Africa and worked with Doc at Blessman International. And now currently I work for a nonprofit organization called ECHO, where we equip farmers in the name of Jesus to improve and eradicate hunger and address food insecurity around the world.
I've been looking forward to this interview, and one of the things I'd like to hear more about today is your work in agriculture. I still hear Johanny every time I introduce him to a group of Americans. He tells a story about his 8 or 9 months that he worked with you and all the wonderful things that you and he together accomplished. And I think that's the kind of thing many of our listeners around the world, but mostly in America, are probably interested in hearing about. Tell us a little bit about what you were able to accomplish and what that experience was like when you and Johanny created this wonderful program.
It was an amazing experience, Doc. So basically, I was just fresh out of my undergraduate years looking for my next opportunities to get hands-on experience in the nonprofit world, in the faith-based nonprofit world. And I had some mentors and friends say, it would be a really great opportunity for you to go overseas and get some hands-on experience and work in the field with people and learn more about what it's like to live overseas and get some immersive cross-cultural experience. And so, Doc, you approached me, knocked on my door a couple of times, and I was so grateful for that opportunity to then move to South Africa for, about 8 or 9 months in the end. So that was to implement as an agricultural specialist, the Teach a Child to Fish program. And that program was funded by Rotary International. So hello, Rotary friends who may be listening. Thank you for your support continually for Blessman International. And so that program was funded with the goal of equipping schools in rural areas surrounding Blessman International's campus with a school garden as well as training. So that really looked like us bringing local schools and personnel that we identified to that farm that Blessman International has, that Johanny so expertly runs, and providing training for them over the course of, I think it was 4 or 5 days. Might have been 4 days. I can't remember, but Johanny, I visited him recently and he was saying it was a longer period than I remember, but so during that time, they were equipped with the knowledge of the basics of agriculture, the basics of how to care for a garden. And then after that training was done, we returned back with them to their school and helped them set up a garden locally. So that ended up being about 10 schools that we equipped with 10 different local gardens. We also planted a garden at the local hospital as well, which was an amazing opportunity. Also funded by Rotary, I believe, locally. And in addition to that, we also provided them with training in nutrition at the schools, sharing a little bit about how those gardens could help improve the food security in the lives of the children locally. So that's kind of an overview of the program. Johanny was instrumental in all of it with his background in agriculture. I kind of coordinated things and provided some expertise in the nutrition side, and it was a really successful program.
He still gives you lots and lots of credit, and he loves to talk about it. One of the things that I'm most happy about that program is that almost all those gardens are still going.
Right.
And you were there before COVID. And in South Africa, the whole country just locked down really tight, much more than here in America. And it was very difficult to keep things like a school garden going during COVID. But the local people valued it so much that they kept it going. One of the other things we learned in that program was it requires us to go back to these schools and these gardens periodically to just check on them and to motivate them. And one of the beautiful things that Rotary put in that was an incentive. The work people that were working in the gardens, if they were doing well, we would give them a reward. And I think one of the rewards was if they were doing well, we would come back and add shade netting to their garden, and the people really appreciated that. And so they've developed a long-term relationship. Johanny tries to get back about every 6 months to just check on these schools, and the local people are so proud that they've been able to do this. And some of those gardens were big enough to feed the entire school with vegetables, and it's just been amazing. One of my frustrations is we can't repeat that over and over and over. I'd love to have that program going all the time at our small farm, and just teach many more people in Africa. One of the things I've learned over the years that we do a better job teaching African women how to farm than we do men. Do you have any thoughts on why that might be, Erica?
Oh man, that's a difficult one, Doc. But I think for me, what comes to mind is that there's a long-standing cultural understanding with it throughout different African countries that a lot of times women are the ones that are caring for the family, caring for their homes, and in those African contexts, and oftentimes in those rural villages, especially. And so they often are the ones that are doing the agriculture and different agriculture tasks and running the small gardens at their homes. So that's been a long standing element of that culture in various parts of Africa. I'm sure it's different context to context, but I know in sub-Saharan Africa and in Southern Africa, where Blessman International is, that is a pretty common thing that women previously were highly responsible for the well-being of the household and feeding the household. Men oftentimes were more located in bigger cities or working, and so that might play into it a little bit. Is that there's a bit of buy-in from the women that run the household,
Yeah.
essentially.
The other interesting thing that's along that same line is over the years, we wanted to teach young people to appreciate agriculture. And we'd go into the schools and we would teach in the schools agriculture and putting gardens together. And we learned that we have to get to the children when they're young. If we're working with high school students, they've gone on to other things and they're not very interested in learning about agriculture. But if we get in the middle school, they get very excited about it and they learn, and they really enjoy seeing the fruits of their labor and being able to plant a garden and just see what God will provide from that. And so those are a few of the cultural things that we've learned over the years. And, my wife and I have been there 20 years and we still learn all the time about the differences in our culture. One of the things that I remember about you is you had your parents come and visit you while you were there. Uh, Let us know what was their experience and how was that?
That is such a great question, Doc. I think for me, spending time in South Africa was so formative. That was really a time frame I look back in my life, and it's made me who I am today, and brought me to where I am in my career as well. So thank you again for always taking a chance on me when I needed that opportunity and inviting me. And I can say the same thing for my parents as well. So it was during the midst of my time in South Africa, the second time when I was there for nearly 10 months. My parents they were hearing all of these stories of various things, whether that be living at the Lodge of Dreams and having antelope outside my window at times, or various animals that I encountered, to the incredible stories of the work that I was a part of with Johanny and the schools I was visiting, the people I was interacting with, and the communities that I saw. even some of the poverty as well, that was heart-wrenching for them. They just felt really called, that they knew that this place was really formative for my outlook and perspective on the world. So they made the 20-hour, I think it ended up being, journey all the way down to South Africa. And I got to show them around to various places that had become so near and dear to my heart. So Del Kramer and the farm, and we got to visit I think we went to Mokopane Hospital so they could see one of the major gardens that we had planted. And they still, to this day, after nearly, I think it's almost 5 or 6 years since I was living in South Africa, they tell stories of their visit there and how much it impacted their perspective of the world. That was the farthest they'd ever been from home, and I was living that far away from them at that time. And so it really helped them to get a perspective on what my calling is and why I feel so led to dedicate to my career to those that are vulnerable or the food insecure, and to address major global issues. It gave them a deeper understanding of what I'm called to. And so that was a very formative experience, not only for me, but my entire family, really.
Yeah, please greet them for me. I really enjoyed getting to know them, and I still see them now and again on Facebook, and I always have great memories of our time together. And so please tell them hello for us.
I most definitely will. I definitely will.
One of the things about our ministry is we host many American short-term mission teams, and I remember that all of our mission teams used to just really enjoy getting to know you and working with you. And I remember sitting around the African campfire, and I think, did you play a ukulele or what was the instrument?
That's correct. That was a
I
great memory. Ukulele. In fact, it's back behind me, actually. Yes.
Oh, we should do a concert.
Yeah. A
it,
different part of the podcast.
it was so wonderful to have you just singing and playing the ukulele and just sitting around the campfire and hearing all the stories of the Americans of, what they're experiencing when they come to Africa. And I love hearing what God is doing in their hearts. It just seems like when we as Americans go on a mission trip to Africa or probably any other third world country, it just has an incredible spiritual impact on us. And I love hearing what goes on in people's hearts. Do you have any memories of that or any thoughts that you want to share with us today?
Absolutely. I think that was probably some of the highlights of my experience in South Africa was the excitement of all new visitors coming from various different backgrounds, from different faith walks and perspectives and travel experience. It was like little bright spots in the midst of the work that I was doing. And you get into a routine, and then all of a sudden 10 people come from the US, and you're getting to make 10 new friends. And I think that was one of the coolest parts about my experience was I had an opportunity to make connections with people from all over the world, and all over the US, especially people coming from Iowa, from the Midwest, and getting to know what their perspective was on what they were seeing, and just hearing their experiences as they oftentimes were seeing poverty for the first time. So that was really formative, as well as the interns that Blessman International was hosting during that time. I had a really great opportunity to get to know quite a few of the interns during my full 10-month experience when I was in South Africa. And that was a really cool opportunity to kind of pour into students that were maybe a bit younger than me, and just hear more about their perspective and their dreams to also address things like global poverty. So I really appreciated and have fond memories of my experiences with the visitors that we had, and the teams that came to visit, the grocery shopping trips that were 10 grocery carts long. That was always such a fun experience for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I think as we're sitting here talking today, one of my visions will be to show this podcast to potential new students and interns. And one of my dreams is to get more and more young people, especially college students, graduate students, to come and help us and to do research with us in Africa.
I think Blessman International has an abundance of opportunities for students to serve, to get experience in the world of South Africa, and it being exposed to new cultures and different perspectives.
Thank you. Do you remember a young man by the name of Perfect, an African young man?
I sure do, Doc. He's like a brother to me when I lived there.
He is now grown up. I think he's about 20 years old. and he actually is very good with IT technology, and he's helping me with my podcast. So this is a chance for you to greet him and say hello to Perfect. He'll be
Oh,
publishing
wow.
this podcast for us.
Well, perfect. I think I might have even sent you a little message over email too, but it is awesome to reconnect with you. I'm sorry that I missed you the last time I was in South Africa, but I know you're at school and I've heard amazing things about all the different activities that you're involved with. And I could tell you from when I knew you then that you were a young entrepreneur. And so I am not surprised that you have your hands in podcasts and small businesses. And I just think you have a bright future ahead of you. So I hope you're well.
There's so many things that you experienced, and just want to give you a chance to speak to our listeners.
Absolutely. I think one other thought that maybe I could close with is the power of returning to places. So I, first of all, had my first exposure to South Africa when I came with Blessman International as an intern. So that was one of my first times, the furthest I'd ever been from home, that's for sure. So it was one of my first times overseas as well, and spent about 2 months in South Africa as an intern at the time, had an amazing experience. And so if you're a student watching this and you're in the midst of your undergrad and looking for an experience like that, I would highly recommend Blessman International. And then after that, I had the opportunity to return to South Africa and, be there for a full 10 months and learn so much and have such a powerful experience of both personally, professionally, spiritually, and just a variety of different ways that have led me to my career today. But the beautiful thing that more recently has happened was the opportunity that I had to return back to South Africa through my previous line of work, through a very unique set of circumstances. I was actually working in Zimbabwe at the time, going to fly out of Johannesburg, and it was almost exactly 5 years to the day that I got to return back to South Africa and revisit just so many places that were near and dear to my heart, and also bring my husband along too. So another person who had never been to South Africa before, but had heard so many stories from me, and he got to see just the many places and people that had drawn so dear to my heart during that time and that he had heard about through stories. And so I think travel is something very near and dear to my heart. I love seeing new places, but I just want to challenge you, listener, that there is a power in returning back to a place that is just, it shows you a little bit how much the world changes, but also how much you change, and also how consistent and true God is to your story. And I just think that was such a beautiful and amazing opportunity, and showed me just how impactful Blessman International has been on my story. And so Johanny is one of those people that I got to reconnect with, and I just cannot be more grateful for the mentor and friend that I have found in him over the last 5 years, almost 6 years now. So that was just one thing that came to mind, Doc, and thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy that God caused our paths to cross, and I'm sure that they will continue crossing. Thank you so much. I love you, Erica, and we'll see you again soon. Have a
That
wonderful
sounds
day.
great. Thanks, Doc. It was an amazing opportunity to be on your podcast today. So thanks for having me.